After watching 4 seasons of Attack on Titan, I think I can say that there are no true heroes in this story. People may appear heroic at times, but their motivations are usually revealed to be selfish. Or we find out about like a rigid point of view that can cause more harm than good. Or a character may even be shown to be blindly following another without consideration for right and wrong. So yeah, definitely, Attack on Titan, well, in this show, there are no true 100% pure heroes. Are you sure about that? Before I get started on the review, I just want to take a couple of minutes and remind everybody that I do have a Patreon now. And I know some of you are already members of the Patreon, but if you're not and you just want to check it out, see exactly what's going on over there, well, there is a link in the video description. So from the very beginning of this episode, one thing that I really picked up on, one thing I really noticed, is that Hanji is stressing the speed of the rumbling. Like, she was able to observe the rumbling as it moved across the ocean there. She was able to kind of like see the steam and get a good estimation for how quickly the Titans in the rumbling, led by Eren, how quickly they move. And she's stressing just how much damage has already been done. Hanji is stressing on how time is of the essence and just how many total towns and cities and lives are being destroyed every minute that goes by. And she really does draw our attention to this and put a point on it that no matter what we do, she's setting up the expectation that we're not going to get out of this without a whole lot of harm. Like, there is no perfect solution. What we're trying to do is mitigate the damage. The quicker we move, the more damage we can mitigate. But she wants people to understand, to go into this with both eyes wide open, except for Hanji, you know, she's only got one eye. But she wants people to understand, we're not going to prevent all the damage from happening. We're not going into this to protect our loved ones, because our loved ones, quite frankly, well, their card has been punched. We're going into this because it's the right thing to do and to preserve the world. And she really also serves very effectively, like with the narrative purpose, to put that ticking clock that you always need in like an action adventure story. She gives us the ticking clock, but she also makes it clear, like, the real sort of central moralistic and ethical goals of this is it's not about protecting those people we care about. It's about doing what's right for the world at large. And I really like Hanji kind of setting the stage for that here at the beginning of the penultimate episode, an episode that has so much work to do. It has to do so much heavy lifting to set us up for the finale. And Hanji starts out here setting us up for what I think is going to be a pretty bleak finale. And also kind of piggybacking off of Hanji stressing just how quickly the rumbling is moving and just how much destruction is occurring as we watch them sit here and try to make preparations to fight it. Well, kind of building off of that as we find out just how much time it takes to prepare the boat plane. I mean, the boat plane, ideally they would have a whole day to do it, but you know, maybe they can do it in half a day is what they're talking about. But in half a day's time, 600 kilometers of land gets just flattened by the rumbling. So it really lays into it like, if we started yesterday, we would already be too late. So what we've got to understand is what our goals are. And this boat plane, which is crucial to their plan right now, well, it's not something that you can just snap your fingers and it's done. You have to accept there's going to be death and pain and loss, and you have to understand that. But at the same time, we've got to prepare the boat plane in the quickest and the most sort of intelligent or the most strategically significant manner that we can. But the time it takes to prepare the boat plane adds up to 600 kilometers of damage. That's pretty sad and dismal and dark, and that is a lot of space that is covered while they're preparing that plane. But the emissaries from Hazuru, the lady from the Azumabita clan, well, they do talk about this hangar in a place called Odiha, I think is what it's called. And it's like this private hangar on the mainland that's kind of south of the rumbling. And it's a little bit of a gamble, you know, because they need time to put this plane together. But they also, you know, if you put the plane together closer to where the rumbling is, like you go across, they head south in the sea and they get to this hangar, then they can like put the plane up and it'll be up and running where the rumbling is, instead of putting the plane up here in the harbor, for example, and having to fly all the way to the mainland and then try to catch up with the rumbling. I guess by moving by ship across the ocean, it's a little bit quicker than assembling the plane and trying to fly after them. It sounds like they're sort of trying to head the rumbling off at the pass, like they're taking the boat to get around the rumbling, assemble the ship, and then catch it as it's heading south, they're heading north. That's my interpretation of the plan. They do mention it's a gamble, though, because it's always possible, no matter how quickly they move on that ship, it's always possible they get to the hangar and the rumbling has already smashed the hangar, or the rumbling has already moved beyond them. So it is like a high risk, high reward kind of plan. It's a gamble, which hearing Hanji talk about the gamble, well, of course, that makes me think of her mentor, Erwin. And Erwin was always like the riverboat gambler of the Attack on Titan world, always ready to take that high risk, high reward, go down in a blaze of glory, my soldier's rage, everything like that. So I do see little echoes there. I don't entirely know if this is the right thing to do, to go to this secret hangar. The way things go in Attack on Titan, it will probably not go smoothly, but it does look like that is the decision that has been made, so I'm eager to see how well this works out for him in the next episode. And something else that really became clear to me, and I don't think I was entirely convinced of this before, but in this episode, I think that however misguided Flock is a true believer in the Jaegerist cause. I think Flock is a true believer in the dominance of Eldia. Flock goes into the battle, he leads it, he puts himself in harm's way, he pays the price for putting himself in harm's way, but there was a part here where he's showing himself to be this despot, to be this tyrant. He's talking about how he's doing what Eren wanted and he knew about Eren's plans, and I'm not sure that he's telling the truth in those moments. And I wondered if there was a bit of ambition or ego or some kind of political aspiration pushing Flock to act this way. But if that were the case, I don't think he would jump up front and center and sacrifice himself the way he does in this episode. I mean, we do see him falling to the sea after being shot by Gabi. Looks to me like this is the end of the road for Flock. Like, I don't see him coming back from this. But if this were a Western comic book, he would absolutely come back from it. Nobody's dead, but I do think Flock here in this story, this is the end of his road. And you made it to the next to last episode. You made it to the penultimate episode. So not bad, Flock. But some folks have seen that I have a Patreon supporter whose screen name is Flock Deserves Worse. He does seem to kind of get off easy here, but, getting shot in the shoulder, drowning in the ocean, that is pretty bad. So I don't know how much worse Flock could get. But it does make me have some kind of twisted, warped respect for him to know that it wasn't just political manipulation. It wasn't just that he was hungry for power. He didn't get enamored with the leadership role that he had and being able to control what other people would do and ruling with an iron fist. I think he honestly was a zealot. And of course, that can be the most dangerous kind of despot or dictator, is one who is a zealot. But at least I don't think he was lying to people. I think he was buying the exact product he was selling, so to speak. But we do finally get the debut of Falco's Jaw Titan form. And I gotta say, I think it looks pretty cool. In my own opinion, this is recency bias, just shooting from the hip here, but in my opinion, I think Falco's Jaw Titan is the coolest looking Jaw Titan. He's got this beak like a bird, and people said, his name is Falco. And when I hear Falco, I think about like an Austrian disco musician, like Falco who sang Rock Me Amadeus. But yeah, Falco also kind of sounds like Falcon, so it makes sense that a guy whose name is kind of like Falcon would take a bird form in his Jaw Titan. But to me, it doesn't look like a falcon. To me, it looks like an angry chicken. And I kind of think angry chickens are cool. Like, he's got the feather-looking things on his shoulders. The hair looks cool on it with the beak skull mask. I think that his angry chicken is pretty cool. I like the Falco angry chicken. And this is his first transformation. Peak warns him before he joins the fight that the first transformations tend not to go well. And I would say it goes so-so for Falco. He does pretty darn good in the battle when he jumps in. He's very effective, but he doesn't have control over his Titan. He has to be cut out of the nape, as we saw people do to other Titan shifters in the past. And it looks like he's got Peak pinned down, and he's trying to gobble up Peak and combine the Cart Titan with the Jaw Titan, which would be an odd combo. But crisis averted, he gets cut out. Also, the fact that he's never transformed before gives us this really, like, painful, excruciating scene where it looks like he has a knitting needle is what it looks like to me. And he's just gouging at his palm and it's bleeding and it looks like it's kind of dull. So I know it has to hurt like heck. And for some reason, he doesn't understand what he needs to transform. He doesn't quite have the formed intention there and all that stuff that we learned with Eren in season 1, season 2. But oh my goodness, it looks so gruesome. It just made me kind of cringe thinking about gouging at my hand. He's even gouging at the palm of his right hand, and there's like all kinds of nerve endings in your hand. It just looks miserable. But he does finally get that glorious fighting chicken form that takes on him, and he becomes Peter Griffin's worst nightmare, and he goes in there and he contributes to the battle and helps turn the tide of affairs there. Talking about battle, we also get this incredible sequence that I call Mikasa's blood rain, where Mikasa is just taking those blades. I talked about it in the reaction, the blades of the Ackerman, or the Ackerman blades, or the blades of an Ackerman. She is just cutting through all these people, and she has no hesitation. She even says, if you hesitate, you lose. She has no hesitation. She has no remorse. She's a stone cold killer. She's in this part where there's like an explosion, blood flies up, it falls down around her like rainfall. And man, does she look cool. And I know Attack on Titan has spent a lot of time telling me I'm not supposed to celebrate violence. And I should sit here and think, like, I don't need to be cheering for Mikasa because these are her friends. These are people she trained with as cadets. These Jaegerists, well, they think they stand for the same thing that she does, but they're fighting on different sides of it here. But if we're not supposed to celebrate the violence, and if we're not supposed to take joy in Mikasa just slicing and dicing her way through a bunch of these fools, why do they make it look so darn awesome? Because I gotta say, from a butt-kicking visual perspective, this blood rain of Mikasa, particularly the scene that I used to give it its name, that inspired its name, where the actual blood is raining down on her, and it looks like something out of a Resident Evil movie or something with Alice. That looks so awesome, and this is where the key animators that they brought in to do this scene, man, they have won me over as a lifelong fan. Like, I want to see what else they do. This is some quality, like, wallpaper on your computer, you know, wallpaper on your phone. Maybe you get a poster of this and you stick it up in your office or your bedroom or something. This is some awesome scenes here. But boy, talk about sending mixed messages. You show us everything Connie went through. You get me feeling bad because I was cheering for Connie to kill Daz and Samuel. Then you turn right around and you give me something so visually awesome I can't help but get psyched up and excited and pump my fist when Mikasa's cutting down her friends. These mixed messages, I'm just not tough enough to take it, guys. I am not mature enough to look at this the way that I'm supposed to. I get caught up in it, and it means I'm enjoying the show. But man, those scoundrels are just too darn talented making this show. Something I found as another nice, subtle redemption moment was Reiner in this episode, because Reiner, the armored titan, finally gets to be a shield. Some people are getting attacked. He's able to just stretch his armored forearm out and protect them from the thunder spears and the arrows that are coming at him. And, you know, this is not my idea at all. This is something that one of the commenters shared with me from another YouTube channel that's reacted to a lot of Attack on Titan, reviewed a lot of it. But they said that this other YouTuber, and I apologize for not having the proper attribution, but they said that this other YouTuber claimed that Reiner is a shield who is being forced to perform as a sword. And man, I think that that person nailed it with this description of Reiner. So it was wonderful in this penultimate episode, one of my favorite words, penultimate, you've probably guessed. But when Reiner finally gets to be a shield, I'm seeing redemption arcs left and right in Attack on Titan. And here, so close to the end of the final season, we get to see Reiner have his own little redemption where he gets to do the job he's most suited to doing, and that is to be the shield and to protect. And let Annie be the one that goes out and wreaks havoc and performs destruction, along with Jaw Titan, of course. But also, when Annie and Reiner are out there, they get pinned down pretty heavily by the Jaegerists with their thunder spears and their mobility gear. And when they get pinned down, Connie is the one who comes through to rescue them. Connie presses on, and this is so powerful to me because of the way the last episode ended, with Connie not doing well, all the emotional pain, all the emotional damage that Connie has been with here, from the loss of his parents, to the loss of Sasha, to being, nearly killing a child, to killing his former friends Daz and Samuel. And then despite all this anger, all this self-loathing, all this dissatisfaction with the situation he's found himself in, he's able to suppress it, to compartmentalize it, and to push through and do what I think would have to be the most difficult thing for him right now, and that is to kill more of his friends after he's still dealing with the emotional repercussions and realization of what he's done with Daz and Samuel in that confrontation that he and Armin had. But you gotta admire the inner strength that Connie's showing here, but you also have to pity whatever kind of crash is going to come down on his soul when this is all over and he has time to sit and to process it and to fully understand what it is he's done, what he's had to do, and what has happened to him. But yes, Connie continuing to be one of the standouts here in the second half of the final season. I mean standouts in terms of story, that a lot of story is being told through Connie here. And then we get an info card, and I just want to read you what this info card says. It says, when Titans were the threat, they were the enemy. When countries were the threat, they were the enemy. For as long as people hold on to different beliefs, there will be an enemy. Yeah, this is like what Erwin was saying. There will only be peace when there's one or fewer humans left. It's like what I've said, that when people set out to crush their enemies, they have a way of always finding new enemies. And some people were kind of critical of this card. They're like, boy, it's like nobody's been watching for the past 4 seasons that they have to have this card here. But I'm also a fan of 3-step storytelling, where the first time it's a subtle hint, the second time it's a little more clear, and the third time it's so obvious that you can't miss it. And we only have this episode and one more left. So you can't wait any longer. If you've got any third steps to take, you got to take them. And these last couple of episodes have been laying it bare. This is what Isayama wanted us to understand about his story and how his story reflects his view of the world, his vision of the human condition. So I got no problem with just laying it out there, because there's only one more info card left, if my understanding is correct. So yeah, come on, it's okay. Let's cut them some slack. They get a little obvious with this one, but it's truth. You know, it's not like it's inconsistent with everything they've shown us so far. So, I don't always comment on the info cards, but this one I wanted to. And of course, the highlight of the episode for me is the, for me at least, totally unexpected yet awesome reappearance of Keith Mother Humpin' Shaddis. I mean, Shaddis comes in, he is a bystander no more. He zooms in like a hero. He saves the day, but he cannot save himself. We find out that there was this train of reinforcements that were being brought in, and it was taken out by a mysterious explosion. I had no idea who did it. I wasn't even thinking about Shaddis, but we find out he was the mastermind behind it. Shaddis, the guy who'd become so disappointed at himself, at his failure to accomplish anything as the commander of the scouts. He'd taken off to being the commandant of the cadets. He felt like he lost out in love when it came to Carly Yeager, and he was the bystander. But not anymore. He blows up a train, he rips onto the scene, and he is fighting like the old tough veteran scout that he is before he took off to training the cadets. And man, talk about, like, we've had the Hannes redemption story. I talked a little bit about Reiner's. We've had nothing that just smacks at the right moment and the right time like Shaddis. And Shaddis also finds sort of a story echo. You could say a fellow of common experience when he shows up here at the end, because, of course, Theo McGath has agreed to stay back in a holding pattern, to sacrifice himself to secure the escape of the people that are setting off to stop the rumbling. And, of course, Shaddis joins him, and they go into the powder magazine of this boat that the Jaegerists could use to pursue our warriors and our Mikasa scouts, our non-Jaegerist scouts, as they're going out there to stop the rumbling. So they've got to blow this boat up. And the two of them working together with this chance meeting because they both want these kids to have a normal life. They both feel responsibility for putting these children in this situation. McGath in particular for what he has done with the Warrior program. And he really did cause this situation in a way by sending the Warriors to Paradis, though I don't think it was a unilateral decision on his part. He feels all that pain. Also, Shaddis feels that same pain because he trained so many of these cadets, and maybe he regrets the way that this all turned out for them, and he wonders, what could I have done differently to have kept this from being here? And we even see like this retrospective, which is the title of the episode, but this old retrospective photo of so many of the warriors. We have Gabi and Annie, and we have Peak. We have all these folks from the warrior program as Theo's thinking about it. And Magath and Shadis, and they both say, if those kids can live normal lives, then I'm willing to die, and we're willing to die, and we are going to atone. And atonement is the story arc here for Magath and Shadis, though Shadis, I think, is a little bit more of a true hero. Magath, clearly, I can get behind the idea that he needs atonement, but in Shadis' own mind, he perceives himself as needing atonement, and I think they achieve it. As they blow up that ship, the ship goes down. They don't have to worry about pursuers of the folks who are trying to escape and stop the rumbling. I love the direction in this final explosion of the ship scene, the final scene of the episode before the credits roll. And in this scene, there's nothing but the soundtrack. We don't hear the sound of explosions. We don't hear the sound of water or birds. We just hear this very somber yet sentimental music, and we see the boat exploding, and we see it going down. And we know our heroes, Shadis and Magath, are on that boat, and they're the ones that did it. And it gives us a moment to respect the sacrifice that they paid, but also to understand that maybe that is what they needed to do to be satisfied with themselves. What's the point of living if you can't live with yourself? So they did something to hopefully make the world a better place. As Hanji will say a little bit later, Magath died to save the lives of people whose names he will never know. And that kind of comes to heart here as this boat is exploding with that somber, sentimental music playing. Now, I didn't stick around for it when I made the reaction, which is not the first major mistake I've made on reaction videos, but it's one that I feel bad that I didn't stick around for it. But of course, I have rewatched the episode. I did see the end credit scene. Just want to talk a little bit about that because my takeaway from that end credit scene, quite simply put, is that Annie is broken. And Annie was fighting to save Mr. Leonhardt. That was quite pointedly what her motivation was. And when she finds out that it's too late, like if we were there now, it's too late. He's dead. Of course, we know it wasn't even the rumbling necessarily that killed Mr. Leonhardt. We saw that he was at the front of the pack in Liberia when the Marleyan guards looks like they opened fire on the crowd of Eldians. And he was like front and center. So I don't even think it was the rumbling that killed Mr. Leonhardt. But Annie is broken. She's so broken, she doesn't even know what she wants to do. She's sending paradoxical, contradictory, mixed messages here. First, she asks Mikasa, will you be able to kill Eren? Will you be able to stand by while I kill Eren, or will you fight me when I try to kill Eren? Then she says she's tired of fighting. She's tired of fighting Mikasa. She's tired of fighting Eldian. She's tired of fighting the people from Paradis. She's even tired of fighting Eren. So that makes it sound like Annie is just out. She's out of the battle at this point. She's so badly broken. She has no motivation. She failed to do what she wanted to do. But this is where Hanji says something that I think is part of Isayama's message. And the message is your motivations have to go beyond personal motivations. They have to go beyond what you might describe as selfish motivations. Now, wanting to save your family is something anybody would do, right? I mean, of course you're going to be motivated to save your family, but if you can't save your family, you have to have this big picture. At least this is what Hanji's saying to us. You have to have this big picture to understand that everybody, every living being is somebody's family. So yes, it's awful that you weren't able to save yours, but that doesn't mean we don't try to do what's right. She kind of points out that Magath, as I said, he dies to save the lives of people he's never met before. Sort of points out the idea of big picture morality, thinking beyond the faces you've ever seen, not personal morality or a more selfish or more identity type morality, but you've got to think of saving the people you hate, not just the people you love. I don't know if that message is going to reach Annie or not. I also have no idea if this crew has any chance of success, but I feel like something amazing has to happen in this final episode. Also, you know, lots of folks are saying there is no way the story's done in the final episode. So what comes after the final episode? I'm hoping movie. You know, Demon Slayer had a lot of financial success with their movie that tied in directly to the show. Jujutsu Kaisen Zero, they're up to about 130 million worldwide right now, so having decent success. So I don't know why Attack on Titan wouldn't want to go ahead and take their own stab at that and to have a big finale movie on the big screen. I know not everybody's in favor of that, and I'm not trying to tell people you're right or wrong. You do you, man. You chase your bliss. But for me, an Attack on Titan finale on a big screen would be chasing my bliss. Some people have told me there's not enough material to support a whole movie, but I say you got some fight scenes, you just pull out all the stops, you have a fight scene, go on for 45 minutes. I don't think you have any trouble going an hour and 45 minutes if you just lean into some things in the finale. I haven't read the manga. I don't know how much material they have to work with. I'm just going on the record as saying I am pro movie if they're not able to wrap the story up in the next episode. Also, just a reminder, there's like some kind of thing going on with Japanese television next weekend, so the final episode won't be coming out next weekend. There's like a week off, and then it comes out in the first weekend of April. So I've got something else planned up my sleeve to do for next weekend instead of a reaction and review. But with that, I just want to say that I'm proud of you for watching anime, and I'll talk to you again soon.
I just want to say a big thank you to everyone who supports the channel on Patreon. It really means a lot to me. If you might be interested in Patreon perks like early access to videos, uncut reaction videos, ad-free videos, and the opportunity to vote on which anime will be covered in the future, then click on the link in the video description. Thank you.